Okay, we're going to cover private schools, public schools, but not in the way you would think today, and how it's affecting the villages and how it's affecting retirement communities and how it's affecting the whole marketplace. And it's really a fascinating dynamic. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the 7-day numbers today. Doing this market update obviously earlier than normal. Not going to be able to go live later on this afternoon, so I'm going live today, this morning. So 10:30 right now, just after 10:30 on the 13th, August 2021. And obviously we've gone through ups and downs over the last 18 months. A little bit of a softness in the marketplace over the last 6 to 8, probably about 6 weeks, and a little bit less inventory coming on the marketplace, more than normal. So we're going to cover the 7-day numbers, and we're going to cover schools, and we're going to cover what's on the market. What can you buy right now in the villages? So we're going to cover all those three things today. So if you have questions, let me know. Obviously, you know where to find us. buysellthevillages.com is our website. Also 352-572-3796, 352-572-3796. And if you want to be notified when there is a new broadcast or a new video, and I'm doing it a couple times a week, you can subscribe to our channel. So if you have subscribed, thank you very much. Happy Friday, everybody. So let's talk about the first thing. First thing I want to cover is, let's cover the topic of schools. Okay. And, obviously I've talked about it before, where I've connected with a lot of coaching clients from around the country, also agents that are doing business around the country, buyers and sellers that are living in different parts of the country outside of our area in Florida. And one of the common themes is that the market has slowed down a little bit. And I say that not with to enact any kind of fear, just because it's not something where, oh my gosh, it's slowed down. It's not something to be terrified about, but it is something to really take notice. And I think the slowdown in many of these markets, as opposed to getting 12 offers, they're getting 2 or 3 offers on a multiple offer situation. And I think there's a little bit more of an opportunity for people to buy a home, right? With a little bit less competition. We're seeing some of that here because it is August and it is hot here. And I think that's definitely a consideration. But one of the elements that's really a factor is the fact that people are taking a lot of vacations this summer. The dynamic of COVID being locked up and closed in for, over a year, many people have decided they're going to go on vacation this summer, record numbers. So if you've been on vacation, you probably have realized that. You've seen it, where there's so many people out and about. We've seen it here in Florida. That's also, that's a big part of what we're seeing, with health issues and that type of thing. A lot of tourists, especially in Orlando and Tampa and Miami. Not necessarily here. We're seeing a little bit more here, but it's not overrun or overcrowded here. I actually live in a very somewhat rural area, even though there's, we've got 40,000 plus villagers, and we've got several communities around, and we've got, over 500,000 people that live in this area. It's still pretty spread out, and it's still pretty much, I'm actually looking out my window, and I see lots of green. There's a big area, lots of trees, and there's a lot of green space. And on my way down to the office this morning, I'm thinking about, okay, well, obviously I've got to drive through farms and see lots of animals, and so it's definitely a semi-rural area, very pretty area to be in. But I bring that up because what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot more vacationers around the country before school starts. And how that impacts us here in the village is very interesting. There's a connection, and the connection is that since so many people have decided they're going to go on vacation, they have the opportunity to, before things close down, they are not concentrating on housing. They're not thinking about real estate. There's a certain segment of the population that's not thinking about real estate. So I think that takes those people off the table. But one of the things that we're seeing in certain areas of Florida, where school actually started, for some people, actually here in the villages, the charter school actually started last week. the public schools for most of the counties in the area started this week. Last week, I think it was probably Thursday that the charter school, the village's charter school, started class. But we're also seeing, I think it was Tuesday of this week, Marion County in the area started their schools, their public schools and private schools started, I believe, last week as well. So with that in mind, what that means is that now the people that are in Florida, the local buyers, are now thinking about real estate again. Now they can't go on vacation. They've got their kids in school. And because of that, we're starting to see a pickup of the outside of the village's normal everyday market. More buyers are buying because now they're interested. We've seen a little bit of an uptick. I've got an Ocala real estate channel that I'm doing the numbers on there. So if you're interested in looking at that, that's an option. But that is something we're really paying attention to. I'm really watching it from around the country to see, okay, when school starts, when public schools get in, when private schools get in, especially up north. I know I've got a client in Charleston, South Carolina. Their school starts next week. It seems like as we move further north, it's the week after, the week after, the week after. We know that most of the Northeast schools will start after Labor Day, and we're still, 3 weeks away from that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the market is impacted by school starting and people now being able to pay attention to real estate as opposed to vacation. So I'm seeing a little bit of a change here in Florida. We're going to talk about those 7-day numbers in a minute, and actually what we've seen here, if we look at it, and I'll show you, we'll look at the inventory in a minute. I'll do a share screen with you. What we've seen here is think about this, and if you've been following me, you know this. Obviously we've seen a rundown in inventory from the beginning of the year to, about 6 weeks ago, and then inventory started to pick up. Our low in inventory, I think, was probably upper 40s. That's how many properties we had on MLS, and a very similar number on VLS, by the way, very close. We're like neck and neck. With inventory, it's almost identical. And, we talked about this last week on new construction, very similar numbers on the new construction side. So when we're talking about inventories dropping that way, right? Like that's what we saw. And then we saw a little bit of an increase over the last 6 weeks where we went to, went from like upper 40s to, say, about 3-4 weeks ago, went to like upper 70s, even 80, I think at one moment, 80 properties for sale. And then the last week or two, we've seen a little bit of a decrease. Now we're lower 70s. So it looked like, one of the things that we would look at when we're thinking about, okay, is there going to be some kind of housing crash, or, is the market really, really slowing down? We would pay attention to the amount of homes on the market. That's one of the indicators. The other indicator is how many properties are going under contract, and how many months supply of homes, or weeks supply, or in some cases days supply of homes on the market. That's how we indicate, okay, is this a crazy hot market? Is it a crazy cold market? Is the market cooling off? Is it heating up? What's going on? That's really how you can tell. And that's why I've always said, watching this channel, you're going to be on the front lines and figuring out, okay, what's happening with the market. So we saw this with inventory, and then a little bit of an increase, which maybe for people that said, okay, well, this is going to be a housing crash, housing bubble. That might have been something that would be food for thought. But now that we're seeing inventory drop over the last couple of weeks, that kind of takes away that thought a little bit. But we're going to continue to watch it. So that's how I think public school and private school actually has an impact on the villages and retirement communities. And, it's interesting, maybe for the first time ever, it's had a greater impact, this year more than ever, right? Like there's always an impact. Of course, there's a trickle down effect. People are thinking about, real estate as opposed to vacation. So they start buying homes. And then because they're buying homes up north or any of our feeder markets down south, then hence they can buy in our community. So that's how that works. That's how it's all interrelated. If you have questions, let me know. But, or comments, by the way, on the impact of schools. It's very interesting how that occurs. So something to think about. Let's take a look at, let me just share a screen with you. We're going to look at numbers. We're going to see what's on the market so you can get an idea of what you can buy. This is going to be a live. This is going to be a live look as to what is on the market right now. So let me see if this is the right screen. It is not the right screen, so bear with me. We'll be looking at, should be this one. There it is. Okay, good. So we are looking at the right screen. This is basically, this is the inventory. This is what we're looking at. I'm going to blow this up a little bit so you can see what exactly we're seeing here. Okay. So let me orient. This is actually just the villages itself, MLS, right? This is very similar to what we've seen. Pay attention to this number, right? 71 active properties. I think I said 72, 71 active at the moment. Okay. And we're going to look at what's coming on the market. What's the pace of what's coming on the market, so you can kind of tell a little bit. So, obviously here you're looking at, some of the older homes. This is going to be the manufactured section, the historic section, the east side of 441, right? And also, this tells you, what's available over 200,000. Okay, there's a few that are, this is actually, I think, a courtyard villa, actually patio villa rather, here, so you can see that. Right, Catherine Villas, and we're seeing a little bit of pretty much a plateauing. I think this is pretty consistent over what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Some inventory under, but if you're looking for a nice patio villa, I think somebody asked me about a 1-1 recently, and the 1-1s are available. They're not available at the moment, but they come on periodically. You can probably find something in that 180 to 200 range. Patio villas, for the most part, are in the 250 plus range, and courtyard villas would be, I think we saw one on the market that went pretty fast, 275 or 280, and now you're looking at over the $300,000 mark. Gives you an idea. It goes pretty quickly to 400. But what we're seeing is a really big difference in the upper end of the market and the lower end of the market. A lot of changes there. Also, we're seeing things are coming on the market. It's interesting because you may think, well, there's nothing coming on the market. What's really going on? There's nothing available for me. And what typically happens when you're looking at a snapshot like this, it gives you the illusion that nothing is available and nothing's, I can't buy anything. But what happens is that depending on when you take the snapshot, things are coming on the market and then they're going off the market, coming on the market, leaving the market. And that, we did this a couple of weeks ago where we did a study on the days on market, and the days on market was pretty much, 4 or 5 days on the marketplace, August and July numbers. So that just tells us that things are selling in a fast way. So don't be disheartened by that. Don't be discouraged. There's opportunities for you to buy. You just need to connect with a great realtor that's going to really have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. That's really important. Okay, and if you need a recommendation on that, please let me know. That's one thing I wanted to share with you. The last thing I want to share with you is going to be the 7-day numbers. So we're going to look at the 7-day numbers of what we're seeing. And, a lot of times I'll just tell you the numbers, but sometimes I feel like it's good for you to see it as well. So you have an idea of, what's going on. And actually it gives it a little bit more validity too, right? Like it gives it more validity when you can actually look at the thing for yourself, not just taking my word for it. I think that's really important. So let's go back here. We're going to, let's go to home page, and we're going to see here, this is the 7-day numbers for the villages, right? 17 new listings, 1 increase, 11 decreases. So what's that saying is there's a lot of sellers that have pushed the envelope and they're trying for as much money as possible, but if it doesn't sell within a reasonable amount of time, And in this moment, sellers, if they don't, sometimes they get a little bit antsy about, oh, I wasn't able to sell it in the first couple of days, so I better do a price reduction. So 11 price reductions, one back on the market, 34 closed, which is, that's not a heavy number, but it's a number that is a little bit aggressive for August closings. Typically, August is one of the lowest closing months for obvious reasons. People are shopping late June, July, and it's the hottest months here in Florida and in the villages. So 34 closed. This last 7 days, one expired. 36 under contract, right? So 36 people, 36 homes, were priced correctly, and buyers said, okay, I'm going to buy it. So they put it under contract. It's not closed, but they've got a contract, and they're going to go through their due diligence and through, the inspection periods. Okay. So that's what we're seeing in the marketplace right now. It gives you a really good idea as to what's happening. Middle of August, I think it's a real indication right now that this point in time, this part of the year is supposed to be one of the slowest times that we're going to see. My belief is that as people up north are getting their kids into school, there's going to be a little bit of a pick-me-up, even more of a pick-me-up again. And then, some other things that are happening with COVID as well, that I think we're going to see a pick-me-up, additional pick-me-up in the north, northeast, out west, and things are going to, homes are going to sell faster. Hence, we're going to see additional activity. Plus, it's going to cool off, and we're getting into that time period where people are shopping in greater numbers naturally anyway. So it's going to be really fascinating to see as we go into September what happens. Check out our website, Buy Sell the Villages, if you are shopping for a home or if you want to see some things that are available, active. It will ask you to register, but don't freak out about it. We're not going to spam you or anything like that. It's just you're going to have access to the information. And if you have questions, 352-572-3796, 352-572-3796 is my number. I'm the broker here at Realty Executives in the Villages and also in Ocala, Florida. So questions, let me know. Put some comments here if you have any comments or concerns or questions, and hope everybody has a great weekend. Okay, take care.